All right, everybody, welcome back to the What Worked For Me podcast. Today I have Zach, who has successfully lost 60 pounds. He has an awesome story. We're going to get into it. Um, Zach, is there anything else you'd like to introduce yourself with?
No, not really. So far, I'm
Sweet.
yeah,
Um,
it's me.
Great. And we're going to get to hear all about Zach's story. If anything he says connects with you, we're going to put all of his links to any of his social media accounts in the description below so you'll be able to find him right away. Go check out his story. He has a really inspiring story. So, Zach, I know you said you got all the way up to 265 pounds. No one starts out that big. Were you a big kid to begin with, or did you gain that later in life? How did you find yourself up at almost 300 pounds?
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up super active. I was like in high school. I was in every single sport I possibly could be. Like I grew up in a really small town in Colorado, so I just had all the opportunities to do sports. I was basketball, baseball, soccer. Baseball was the love of my life. Like I was really good, and I I was really fit for a while, and I served a LDS mission 2 years, Spanish speaking, and it just all. I had a car everywhere I went. I wasn't running, I wasn't biking, I wasn't walking a whole lot, and it just piled on, and I like it didn't really. I mean, I was still pretty small, but I was like, oh, I grew up like, oh, I have a fast metabolism. Yeah, I don't have to worry about it. I can eat whatever I want.
And then it betrayed you.
165 to 200. Yeah. And it just kept going. And shortly, probably about a year after I got back from my mission, I got married. And then that just like, and I dabbled like every once in a while to go to the gym. And then like I'd always loved being active, but it never, like I never got it to stick. Like I loved it. I was always passionate about fitness, and I was like, I can just go back whenever I want. And then it just never happened. I got a job at a call center. I was working, oh, two call centers. I was working two jobs at the time. My wife, now ex-wife, was super sick at the time, and so I just was doing everything I could to grind, and it was job, sleep, other job, rest for a little bit, other job, and it was just call centers. And it just, I never really thought about it. And then I actually moved out to a smaller town, Utah, you know where it's at, in Santa Quinn.
Hmm.
And I just started working from home. That was right around the time, the whole COVID thing.
COVID, like 2020.
Exactly. Yep. And so there's never really a reason to leave the house and go get food, come back. And we, at the time when I really started like my journey, I finally I just noticed I was just not happy
Yeah.
in general. Like life, even making okay money, like by this time, both of us were working, and like we were both just kind of coexisting. And I was like, something's wrong. I need to figure something out. And I went and saw a doctor, and I got diagnosed with severe depression and ADHD. And that was ADHD part didn't really surprise me. I kind of
Like we all
knew
see it
that.
coming. If you're in
Yeah.
that boat, it's like you kind of know before it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there was only like out of the survey, there was like two questions that I didn't like align with,
Yeah, I
and it was
remember.
like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I had that same experience actually.
yeah. I was like, oh crap. So
Yeah.
I started taking Adderall, and that honestly changed my life. Like I know people have mixed reviews about it, but for me, ADHD, that was what was like, okay, now I can actually do what I want to do. And around the same time, my girlfriend and I started getting into
Was
how
this
do
your
I
wife or your girlfriend?
so sorry, wife at the time.
Wife at the time.
Um, we I found out she was being unfaithful
Oh,
and caught her. caught her multiple times talking to people that she told me that she wasn't. And um, we tried to go to therapy, thought everything was great, found out that she was pregnant, and it was like, cool, all right, let's grind. We're in a good spot. We're both working, like we can save up for a kid. We're super excited. We were together, it would have been 6 years. And the day before, it was like a month before our 6 year anniversary, like we got in a fight, and I was just like, look, are you like are we gonna figure this out? And she's like, honestly, I love him more than I love you. And I was like, okay, then we're done. Like there was nothing more I could do at that point.
Yeah. So it
And
sounds like you kind of hit like that was your rock bottom type point in life, then I bet.
yes, it was rock bottom, and then somehow that rock bottom kept going. Like
Yeah, let's keep
it's
going. Some holes get deeper, so
yeah, I mean, it was I mean, then she never told me that it wasn't my child, but I was like, I have no idea. So I spent the next 9 months not knowing what this kid was mine, and she moved in with this guy, and I was alone. And it was both a blessing and a curse. Like that's when I noticed I was like, holy crap, like I'm huge, I'm weak. Like I've I was like, I'm not okay.
yeah.
And so
And you
I
were up to about
started
265 pounds, you said?
so I start yeah, out of high school I was like 165, and then yeah, I went to the gym one day and I hopped on the scale and it was 260, 265, like
Yeah.
right in that area, and I was like, what happened? Like I just felt like crap. And so um I was like, well, I have nothing else to do besides work and gym. And that's what I did. I I would go to the gym and I just lifted really, really heavy a lot. And I would spend 2 to 3 hours at the gym just right there in Payson, small gym, open 24/7. I would go, sometimes it'd be 2 times a day, sometimes it would just be once. But for the next, 3 to 4 months, I just went to town, and I got incredibly strong really, really quickly.
Right.
And that made it even more addicting because then I was like, cool. I took my bench from, 165 to my max, which was 315 on bench. I ended up getting to the point where I could deadlift 405 pounds. I injured myself multiple times during the process. Like
Yeah, that
it,
actually, so
yeah.
when you first started getting back into it, it's,
Hmm.
I know sometimes it can be hard when you go from like, hey, I left last time I was really working out, I was really young and athletic, and then now all of a sudden I'm not. How was those first couple days getting back into it? Was it just,
Humbling. It
yeah,
was
what kept you going during that when you realized like, oh, this is actually where I'm at?
it was I like this is where I want to be. Like I know it's going to come back. Like that that's where it was at. And then honestly just pure rage. Like I don't I'm 100% honest. I was angry, I was mad at myself, I was mad at my situation,
World.
and it was honestly therapy. Like I I was like, if I wasn't here, I would be somewhere that I didn't want to be, like in
Right.
bed, just bed rotting
Yeah.
and eating more crappy food. Like it just instead of eating away my problems, which I still definitely ate because working out that much, you were hungry,
Right.
starving. Even with the Adderall, I was like, yeah, I had to eat a lot. So my diet was eggs, and I love barbecue, barbecued a lot. Like my dad did competition barbecue, so I knew how to make chicken, steak, beef. Like I just,
Get and all the good stuff.
yeah, just all the protein I could eat, and I just kept going, kept grinding, and I didn't really. For me, it became less about weight loss and more about like, okay, this is where like I go to the gym and I feel better.
Okay.
Like it
Training and
was
your release and your escape from work like
exactly,
that.
yeah. And then I just once I realized like, okay, I'm heading in the right direction. I feel better. I look better. Like it was awesome. And I was like, this saved my life.
Yeah, and so you said how long you lost 60 pounds in that process. How long did it take you to lose 60 pounds?
It was about 3 to 4 months.
Okay, so you were doing pretty quick. So
Yeah.
15, 20-ish pounds a month almost.
Yes.
And in that same time period, you were able to put on the like 100 pounds in your bench, or was that different
It
throughout?
it was around the same time. It was a couple months later that I hit 315,
Okay, sweet.
but I was at like 285 for quite a while. But
Yeah,
that's how I trained. I didn't really do any cardio.
just all
I
strength training.
bro, I know I know cardio, people love it and it's helped a lot of people lose weight. But if I
But
want to do cardio, I'll just lift weights faster. Like that was my philosophy. Like I'm here to do what I love and what actually makes me feel better. That was also part of the reason why I hurt myself because was going too heavy too quickly and
yeah.
messed up my hip. I herniated a disc. Like but I learned like, okay, injured, how do I fix it?
So
Right.
during kind of that transition, you said as far as nutrition, you weren't tracking a ton. It sounds like you were just kind of focusing high protein,
Yep.
eating kind of as much as you could because you were just exercising, you know,
Yeah.
kind of a lot. It sounds like you're using it kind of as that mental escape.
100%.
So when you hit 225, right? Or sorry, 205 is
205.
where you
Yeah.
kind of ended up at. What made you decide like, okay, this is where I want to stop? How did you know when to get off kind of the weight loss train? I think that can be tricky
Um,
for some people.
yeah, it's a great question. I just I felt my best. I felt strong and I was like I believe I was sitting at 10 to 12% body fat at that time. Like I actually went to a local gym where they do like the e-vault scans
Yeah,
or whatever and I was like, "Oh, okay, like I'm in a really really good spot. This is where I want to stay because I was like this is where I feel the strongest." I still didn't quite have the six pack that I had in high school, but like I felt really really good and I was proud of my progress. Like I'm lifting as much as I want to. Like this is where I feel best.
right. So during this time, because you kind of explained it as you hit rock bottom and the gym became kind of like a tool to deal with that stress and those
Hmm.
kind of things. When you would get injured, and then all of a sudden the gym wasn't as available, what were you doing then to deal with the stress that you were still trying to process?
Yeah, so I that's a great question. I still went to the gym. I would just avoid doing the things that like deadlifting. Me and deadlifting have a love-hate relationship, dude.
Everyone,
Like
yeah,
I loved deadlifting, but that's what I didn't figure out my form quick enough, right? And so that's where I got most of my injuries. And so I would stop deadlifting and I would do or even back squats. Like I couldn't do anything without that pain in my hips and my lower back. And I just was like, okay, I'm gonna work on upper body instead. I'm gonna do this. I'll focus on bench or overhead press. Like I just opted for
something else.
something else.
Okay. And so, uh, When you got injured, did that slow down your weight loss at all, or was it all still just pretty?
Um, yes, it did because I mean, now I know why. Now I know why it stopped my weight loss. There was that that last month and a half, like it slowed down drastically. Like I think I only lost 10 to like 5 to 10 pounds
Yeah,
at that time, but getting injured, I still didn't take any days off because mentally I was like, I can't not go to the gym right now.
yeah,
But it was like hitting 205 was, I don't know if anybody can relate to this. Like when I went to the gym for like that mental clarity and stuff like that, like I stopped looking at the scale, honestly.
yeah,
Like it was more based off of like, okay, how do I feel? Like what I know going to the gym helps me feel better. I need to go. And that's like, I think I weighed myself. I remember specifically the first time, and I remember later that year, it was around December where I hopped back on. It was like 205. There's a couple other times in between, but I like, I hit up a coach. I also had actually kind of going back a little bit, I decided to join a mastermind and I found myself a mental coach. I tried therapy like and with my ex-wife like we tried relationship
yeah.
therapy and at the time it just didn't work. I was
Good for you.
like cool, am I gonna just sitting here talking about my problems now what?
Yeah,
Like it didn't she was great. Like I have no qualms against her, but I was like, I need somebody to help me get over these mental hurdles. And I found a guy and I met him and he's a really, really close friend. So when I did have like moments of like, crap, I hurt myself, I'm not feeling good, I would make a call with him and he would sit down with me, did a lot of like meditation and he helped me change my perspective, like not even change it. He just was like giving me another way to look at things that were happening in my life that I was like, oh yeah, if I look at it this way, if I decide to not be bitter, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be where I want to be. And that just, it sealed the deal for me. It was phenomenal at the
so
time.
let's kind of dive into that because I think you might be dodging, you probably dodged a bullet right there because I think sometimes people trade one vice for another when it comes to fitness, right? When, people go
Yeah.
from being overweight and then they almost overdo fitness. And so how how were you actually able to change those mindsets, right? You can say something as simple as like, okay, I gave up being bitter, but what was it like, what was the process like to actually heal yourself mentally as
Wow.
well as physically?
It's a really, really good question. I started going to the gym because I hated myself. Like, and I feel like that's where a lot of people start. Like, honestly, like we hate where we're at, we hate where we become, and we go to the gym to like punish ourselves. Like, you ate that Krispy Kreme donut, man. You got to do the
Go,
rows. You know what I mean?
yeah, go
Like,
work it off.
which to start, like it's for me, it was great to have that energy because I wouldn't have wouldn't have gone without it because that's it's like I hate myself, I hate where I was. But then as I kept going and even through the injuries, like talking to him about it, it was like, okay, that's only going to take you so far. Like, and do you really hate yourself? And I was like, I mean, yeah, of course I hate myself. What are you talking about? He's like, no, honestly, like I remember that conversation. He was like, what do you love about yourself? Like, what are some things um that you admire about yourself? And I had never really thought about that because I was running off of this, you know, getting ready for a divorce, getting ready to find out if this kid was mine or not. And luckily she is 100%, and that was a huge blessing. But I I was just like, okay, this is how I feel. Is this actually going to help me? Like, where do I actually want to be mentally, physically, emotionally? Is hating myself going to help me get there? No.
Right.
And like, I've known and I've met a lot of bitter people in my life, and those are the most self-sabotaging, just miserable people to be around. I was like, I do not want to be like that. And I was like that for a little bit. And I remember driving north. It's funny because you're from Spanish Fork. There's this, like from Santa Quinn, when you turn to get onto Provo, there's this huge billboard. It's right
Yeah.
there. And I just remember saying to myself, I was like, I choose not to be bitter.
Yeah.
Like, and that was it. I had made the decision and it just clicked. And I was like, cool.
Before this too, we talked a little bit about sometimes there's like some social changes that come along with come along with these with weight. What were some of like the biggest social differences or kind of surprises that you ran into along that line?
Oof. Well, I had friends. I played a lot of video games. Call of Duty, especially after like COVID,
Yeah.
I played all the time and I still did a little bit, but I was like, and I was at stay at home, like I was selling home and auto insurance at the time. And so I was home by myself and I just like, didn't really go out. Like if it wasn't to the gym, I wasn't interested. And I really like I isolated myself not on purpose, but that's what ended up happening. And people stopped hitting me up to hang out. People stopped, hey, you're gonna hop on Xbox tonight, and the answer is always, I'm at the gym. Like
Yeah.
it just stopped. And I luckily I still have a couple friends that I hang out with or still talk to, but other than that, it was a lot of my friends I stopped talking to and haven't talked to since.
So as far as like navigating that, was it like how did that feel going through that? Was that something that even registered on your scale, or were you just so focused that you're just like, it doesn't even matter, I'm just gonna keep going?
Um, I'd consider myself an extrovert to a point.
Yeah.
And so like when I finally was like, okay, cool, like I want to go out, I want to hang out with my friends, and nobody responded, I was like, hello? Like that's it's like what just happened? And that was when I tried reaching out to a few people when I was alone and people didn't respond, that was hard. That depression, it can either, in my opinion, you can learn to live with it to a point, know that it's a thing, know that, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I know what I need to do to deal with this. But that was actually really, really hard. That was super hard because a lot of those friends I had known for, oh man, years, like
Yeah.
that just stopped talking to, didn't hang out with, and even some of those friends that like I was mutual friends with my ex-wife, like that also was isolating because I met them through her, and so like she was
Yeah.
hanging out with them. They were her friends now, and that was hard.
Right.
That was super hard.
How did, because it sounds like depression originally was one of the things that kind of helped made you gain weight, right? That was kind of part of the,
Oh yeah.
the story. So how are you able to overcome that without letting that, you know, pull you back into one of those cycles that used to get you?
Another really good question. Um, I think the biggest thing was with my coach. He helped me recognize the pattern, the cycle that I was. continuously going down. And it was like the the cycle was like, okay, the difference between guilt and shame was really what it is. Like, have you,
No,
if
just
you
keep
haven't heard of this, yeah,
break it down. I just want to see like I just want to hear how you thought through it and kind of what
yeah,
how it worked for you.
yeah. So I was full of a lot of shame, and like something bad would happen. It's like, oh, something bad happened. That means I'm a terrible person. And he's like, that's not even something you can control, dude. Like,
Yeah.
if you didn't, being in sales on top of that, it was really, really hard because, if I wasn't making sales, I wasn't making money.
Yeah.
And so that became a huge part of who I was. And it's like, oh man, I had a terrible day. Like, I'm that must mean I'm piece of crap.
Yeah.
Like, and then I would call him and he was like, dude, absolutely not. You just had a bad day. Like, I would, he helped me realize that shame, when something bad happens, I would say, oh, something bad happens. That means I'm a piece of crap. That's shame.
Yeah.
And guilt is something bad happened. I know I can do better.
And
That's what
kind of
I'm going to
separating
do.
yourself away from instead of internalizing the negative, like realizing it was just a part of kind of the environment or the circumstances that you were in.
Exactly. And he taught me to like, what are the things that we can actually control, and things that are 100% in our control, like our effort, our mindset, and our attitude. That's really it. And I was like, okay, instead of basing who I was as a person on, okay, I got sales today, it was, okay, did I do absolutely everything I could to help as many people as possible? And that, framing it that way, helped me a lot. And it still comes back,
Right.
but now I can, okay, I know what's happening. Definitely not perfect, but I can address it and reframe my mindset on like, okay, I know what's happening. It's time to change it.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about change and kind of focusing in on these couple things. I think everyone finds like one or two kind of linchpin behaviors that really help them build their foundation. As you
Mhm.
were going through this, did you find those things where it's like these became like kind of your non-negotiables, like I have to do these one or two things a day, and then everything else falls into place?
Yeah. The biggest thing, so ADHD mindset, I did a lot to understand like, okay, that that was another huge part of like, okay, cycles. ADHD cycles, executive dysfunction, you're laying on the couch and you're like, I have so much to do, and you're like, I literally can't get up. Like,
Yeah.
that happened so much, but I learned, I was like, okay, for example, if I wanted to clean my house, the only way I would do that is if I put my shoes on. What? How does that even work? But I tried it. Something happened where it was like, okay, my goal isn't to clean the house. My goal is to put on my shoes. And then it would just, I had that momentum and it kept going.
Yeah.
So I changed my goals from like, oh, I want to do like 315 for bench, for example, right?
Yeah.
It instead of that being the big goal, I was like, okay, I need to bench 4 sets of 12, 185.
Yeah.
Like I broke it down, and so the linchpin behavior of that is like, okay, I did, as much as gym was therapy. There's a lot of days I didn't want to go, felt
Yeah.
like crap, had a bad day at the office, on the phones, whatever it may be, and I was like, okay, not gonna worry about going to the gym. I'm just gonna put my gym clothes on.
And then you end
Gym
up at
clothes are on, and
you,
then all of a sudden I'm driving to the gym.
yeah.
That's really what happened. And it was also like, the other thing too was community. Like, I was in that mastermind, and those two things, being in there, and then like days that I didn't want to go to the gym, I just focused on putting my gym clothes on. that was it. That's
Yeah.
what helped the most.
So you kind of figured out like you would get overwhelmed easily by large goals. And so you would just
Yeah.
almost trick yourself by saying like, okay, what's a goal that I know I can do? I can get dressed. And
Yes.
once you were dressed, you're like, well, now I'm already here. So,
Yeah.
and now that was kind of the secret that you figured out about yourself.
Yeah.
So it seems like you learned a lot during this process. Looking back, what do you think were some of your biggest mistakes during your transformation?
Wow. Okay. You have time, right?
Yeah, let's
I've
go. Let's
got this.
go.
Now that I know a lot of the things, one thing that I did wrong, um, as much as I was eating as much protein as possible, like taking Adderall, like I had several increases during this time period as well.
Yeah, and that
And
really can mess with hunger and satiety cues and
yep, it killed my appetite. So there were days where I had barely eaten anything,
yeah.
and I would take a bunch of pre-workout in the parking lot, just go in, and I was so dehydrated, felt like crap, and those were the days I got injured. Weird
Yeah.
how that works. Like most of the time. Some of the days though I just went for it, but I did not I my nutrition, like focusing on protein was great, but I did not do it the best way.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You brought up something that I think everyone has to learn is losing a lot of weight is hard. And there's days you just don't want to, right? You just talked about like, okay, there's days I don't want to and I just put on my clothes and I go anyways. But at the same time, you're like, there's some days where you have no business trying to go in there and lift that heavy, right?
Yes.
And then you get injured. So how did you start to separate out those days? Days where it's like the difference between like, hey, going that extra step is something I don't want to do versus a day where it's like, if I go that extra step today, I could possibly get hurt and I shouldn't push that hard today.
Ooh. Honestly, there were days that I was just like, yeah, I can't go. Like it's too much right now.
Yeah.
And I know like a lot of my story and a lot of it, and again now I took very little rest days because I was like, if I'm going for therapy, I need to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
right? And like there there were days where I just like, okay, it's the end of the day. What did I eat? Nothing. Okay, I'm gonna eat something real quick. How do I feel? And if I didn't, if I felt lethargic, if I felt just crappy still, I was like, okay,
Can't do
I
it
can't
today.
go. So it was, it was just being a little bit smarter, really, about
Listen to your body a little bit more.
exactly. Yeah. Cause it was like, I mean, 2 months in, it was screaming, screaming.
I'm sure.
Everything hurt all the time. My joints, like I wasn't, I mean, with the Adderall and eating a lot of protein because it's so satiating. Now I know this, but like I didn't feel like I needed to eat. So when
Yeah.
I would go and I was just gassed, like
Yeah.
nothing was
And
moving.
you're
I
probably
was,
not sleeping super good if you're on Adderall anyways because
oh
Adderall has
yeah,
sleep.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Not to mention Call
absolutely.
of Duty.
Exactly. Yep. Have to get your daily rewards, man. That
Yeah.
was the like, but it's my transformation was not I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I can sit here and say, yeah, this is what happened to me. There's a lot of things I did wrong, but because of going through that, like especially the mental side,
Yeah.
I understand that like going to the gym because you hate yourself, okay, that gives you the energy to get going, but now what?
Yeah.
How long is it gonna last?
And
Right?
what are some of the negative side effects that are gonna linger? And
Yeah.
you brought up um like really navigating like that self-hate. And I know one of the things that a lot of people face when they lose a lot of weight can be like body dysmorphia
Yep.
issues. What was your experience with that? Like as you were losing weight, did you experience that? Was it hard to gain confidence and feel comfortable, or did that come pretty naturally?
No, it was, I still like, oh, I don't have a six pack. But I had 16-inch arms.
Yeah.
Like what the crap? Like what am I complaining about? I didn't really feel like the best until like other people started telling me like, dude, you look incredible. And I was like, oh, do I? And then I started looking back. One big part of my journey that I didn't mention, like some people might have heard of this program. It is free. So, I mean, 75 Hard
Yeah. So
was,
really, I've heard like several people on this podcast actually talked about their experience with 75 hard.
yeah. So Andy Frisella, he's actually the owner of First Form. That's who, like, I would listen to his podcast a lot, and
Yeah.
it's not a weight loss challenge. It really is a mental
Yeah.
toughness challenge, and that became a huge part of what I did too. Not in that time period. I actually, funny enough, I lost the weight, got in really good shape, and then I did it. So I
75.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, I just maintained, but it that was a huge part of what helped me, and especially the mental side. The mental side is where I feel like I went from hating myself and not believing in myself. Like I told myself so many times I was going to do something and didn't.
Yeah.
And with 75 hard, I got five things to do today, or I got to start all the way over. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. And I just mentally, I was unstoppable. It was incredible. Really loved it.
I think that's always one of the great things that happens is a lot of times when people have a really positive physical shift in their life, it can create a lot of confidence and make you feel much better in other ways. And so that can be really good. So it sounds like you didn't have a ton of issues with like body dysmorphia or anything like that. Did any of the other health issues resolve during this time period that you were dealing with beforehand, or have most of them kind of stayed around?
Um, like really the injury, the biggest one that is still, in fact, a month ago, I herniated a disc again, deadlifting.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. Yeah, but it's honest. It's
Yeah.
real. That during that time it was exacerbated not only because I was lifting crazy heavy, but I was sitting in a chair
Yeah.
8 hours a day. And so that that did get worse until I started doing like mobility stuff and like, okay, why does my back hurt and why is it not going away? And I learned, okay, I need to do these stretches. I'm not activating glutes. I sit on my butt all day. I don't use it.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Learn how to actually use your posterior chain and
exactly.
engage the
Yeah.
things that you need to when you're lifting heavy things.
Yep. And that helped later on. Like that helped me hit my big milestones as far as lifting goes. But yeah, it did. It held me back quite a bit
Yeah, facing those
during that
injuries.
time. Yeah.
One other question we kind of talked about with exercise is you kind of joked and said you just like hate cardio.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
But
not a joke. I do.
yeah, as a power lifter, right? Anything over five is cardio, right? I think that's what
Exactly.
you guys joke about. So
Oh yeah.
something that can be hard to navigate is there's so much fitness information out there. And I'm
Hmm.
sure you've heard more than one time, like, hey, if you're trying to lose weight, like you need to do cardio or you need to do, this or that. Um, when you were going through it, what made you just be like, I'm not even going to worry about it, right? Because like, how did you kind of sort through just like the sea of all the things and just focus on what you want to do?
Yeah. It was just that. I was like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like, if I'm going to go to the gym, I'm gonna do what I like.
Okay.
And and that, like, I looked at the treadmills, kept walking. Like,
Just zero desire.
yeah, like if I if I had a coach at the time who was like, dude, the only way you're gonna lose weight is 10,000 steps and doing this and eat broccoli. Nah, wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I I needed to go to the gym and do what I wanted to do. And it's still like there's still days that I had to do leg day that I didn't want to do leg day.
Right.
The bench was just, in the corner of my eye the entire time. But like,
As always.
yeah, or those jokes where it's like you're going to squat and you fall on the bench
Yeah.
press. Like
Yeah.
that's yeah. But I was like, if I'm gonna go and I really don't feel like it, what do I want to do? That really helped in wanting to go to the gym. And cardio was not it.
So you just said now you're doing more like 3 days a week, right? You're not
Mhm.
doing every day like what you were talking about
Yeah.
beforehand.
Nope.
How are you able to transition out of that point where it's like the gym was like just a daily psychological necessity to, okay, now I can put it in a box where I know how much to actually dose, that it's good for me, but not a potential, vice.
Yeah. Oof. Couple things. It did become a vice. I was going too hard. I was hurting myself repeatedly, and I wasn't resting. I wasn't sleeping. Like it got to the point where I was just exhausted all the time. Like the biggest change for me, especially recently, was like over the last couple years was like, okay, I when I wake up in the morning, I feel like crap. I feel like I got hit by a bus, and that's just not okay. Like I got my testosterone checked, and I am 32 years old, and my total testosterone was 184.
Oh, that's really low.
Yes, and that exacerbated my ADHD symptoms and my depression really, really
Yeah.
bad. And so I was like, why is it so low? Like I'm so active. And then I was like, oh, okay. I'm not sleeping very well. I'm not eating 100% the way that I need to. So I was like, I need to take a step back. And like taking a step back from that, like I still want to hit a little bit of everything. I still bench, squat, deadlift every once in a while, but I make sure to add that variety because that's honestly, I feel way better and I have more energy. It's just not as crazy. I'm crazy hard on my body.
That makes sense. Did you, um, after backing off and like getting more sleep and stuff, did you retest and see improvements in your testosterone scores?
Um, I haven't retested yet. That's
Okay.
actually been fairly recently, but I can tell you I feel a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like that is something I mean that
Sleep is
not a lot
massive.
of huh?
Sleep is a massive factor that people overlook all day long.
Oh yeah. Like I think there was a study that recently came out that I was looking at and like if you sleep 6 hours or less, like the amount of your fat loss potential is reduced by 50%.
Yeah.
Like it's
There's
insane.
not many things that all researchers agree on, and like not sleeping is something that almost everyone agrees is bad for you. Like
Yes.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. Just
like
because you can
does
function off 4 hours
yeah,
of sleep
yeah,
doesn't mean that that's optimal.
yeah.
Like,
No, and when you look into the field of physiology, there is so much debate over everything. And like the one thing there's no debate on is like not sleeping will kill you. It's bad for you.
yeah.
Like, yeah. So
And that's kind of the culture like now, even with like oh you just need to grind, you need to work hard, you need to
yeah,
go all in, like blah blah blah, like sleep tomorrow, sleep when you're dead, like
yeah,
all this crap. And it's like yes, losing a ton of weight is incredibly hard
yeah,
and it takes a lot, but consistency is a little bit at a time is going to do way more of a compound effect than just how I did it, go crazy for a couple months,
yeah.
work short term, but now I'm dealing with
The
injuries
ramifications.
that haven't gone away permanently because I just did not take care of myself.
It sounds like you brought up something that's important is learning how to, separate that mindset of like kind of the go hard or go home and actually be honest with yourself across the board, where it's like maybe all that work and energy I need to put in is towards sleep or like towards those things I'm not wanting to do.
Yeah,
Was that a shift that you kind of had to figure out during that time was okay, like I need to work just as hard on my recovery and just as hard on sleep and these other things because if not, then I'm not going to ever be able to maintain what I'm trying to do right now.
100%. Like it's like yes, I'm at where I want to be for the most part, but it did not like I couldn't I I did not want to, nor did I have the time, put air quotes around that, to go to the gym 7 days a week for 2 hours.
Yeah,
Like I was like, okay, so how can I feel my absolute best? Like I went from I'm doing this for myself mentally to how can I optimize?
right.
How can I do what I need to do? And it's been a game changer for me 100%. And it's way more healthy. I'm
Yeah.
sleeping a lot better and baby's sleeping through the night too. So that helps as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I've been there. I understand how that goes.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes there's some outside factors when it comes to sleep, but man, I really loved everything you had to say. I'm pretty much ready to wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to touch on real quick before we end, or
I mean, closing remark, just people that are listening, people that are struggling, like if you feel like you've tried everything, like failure is the way. When you try something that doesn't work, great. Now
yeah,
you never have to try that again.
right?
If you try keto and you hate it, great. Don't do keto again. Like
Yeah,
find what works for you, regardless of, I mean, personally, finding things on the internet. There's a ton of great resources out there. There's amazing coaches and stuff like that. But really find what works for you, your schedule.
yeah,
When we get, super hard on ourselves and we're beating ourselves up about like, oh, I did this, it worked for this other person, it's not working for me. Like, try something else. Keep trying. There's no failure, there's only feedback.
yeah. No, I like that. I don't think I could end on anything better, so we'll just wrap it up there. Zach, thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully all of our listeners enjoyed it, and we'll just end there.